So my name is Gautam Ivatury. I'm going to talk about LendLeger. What LendLeger is a protocol for lending to small businesses in emerging markets. And we've used parts of this protocol already to make about $7 million in loans over the past year and a half. So it's something that we're taking bits of and now expanding. Let me tell you more about that. Okay. This is a different world than the room we're sitting in. Okay, this guy's name is Mohammed Habib. He lives in Hyderabad in India. He's a milk trader. I hope some of you can see his little establishment. Habib has 3 children. He has 8 employees. And the interesting thing about him is, like most people in the world, he doesn't have any place he can borrow money from that's a bank or a financial institution. They exist, but they won't lend money to him. So what he does whenever he needs money, whether it's for a medical emergency in his family, or whether it's for his kids' school education, or whether it's for expanding this business, or whether it's for a vehicle, a scooter, or an automobile, is he goes to friends and family and he asks them for money. He goes to the community. He also might go from time to time to a neighboring shop. He might go to a money lender, but he goes someplace other than a formal institution, which means socially it's not very comfortable. If we think about how many times we need cash and how we would feel if every single time we had to go and ask somebody for that cash, we would not feel very good about it. Or we go to a money lender like he does, who charges extremely high interest rates. His situation in life won't improve over time if he's paying interest on the order of 80%, 90% a year. So this actually is how the world borrows. Most of the world lives in this world. They live that way. They don't live the way we do. We're very fortunate. Things are changing, okay? We haven't done anything to change them. Most of us haven't done things to change them, but things are changing because data is emerging. Data is changing how most of us interact, including people like Habib. So on this slide, you see a number of companies in India that we've been involved with, partnering with. This includes the biggest swipe company, card swipe company, M-Swipe on the top left, which is kind of like the Square of India. It includes Flipkart in the middle, which is the main competitor to Amazon, recently bought by Walmart. It includes Paytm, the bigger one in the middle, the top row. Paytm has over 100 million mobile wallets. It turns out that Habib went and bought a swipe device, like a Square device, and so his customers buying milk from him now in many cases are paying with debit cards, bank cards. What that does is it creates data. All of a sudden, we can see how much sales his business has, and we can actually make a loan on that basis. Because Habib, like most of the people I'm talking about, he doesn't have a credit score, he doesn't have any financial documentation, his business is not even registered with the government, so it's an informal business. There's no way of knowing if he's a good credit or not a good credit. Data is changing that. This is what LendLeger does. LendLeger connects data sources, what I've called data providers here, with lenders, with borrowers, and with other service providers, people who provide algorithms, people who provide identification solutions, people who collect money. Once we connect this network, we can actually enable more data to flow about people like Habib to lenders, including banks, financial institutions, and more loans can happen. So LendLeger, when it's used more and more, means more data, means more lending. And that's very simply the way the network works. Before LendLeger, lenders, and I have a lending business in India, which I'll talk to you about, our lending business couldn't make loans to people like Habib. What we used to do is walk into the rural areas, sit down with people, and make them loans. Very inefficient and very costly. With LendLeger on the right, lenders can actually get data from borrowers themselves. They can get data from data providers. Why do we need blockchain for this? We need blockchain for this because in lending, trust is the most important thing. So we can connect data between data providers and lenders. We can connect lenders to borrowers. We can enable lots of loans. But if there's no record of those transactions, if there's no record of a person repaying a loan, like the credit scores or the credit bureaus that have your records, then the system can't be trusted. These parties will not do business with each other. Lenders won't lend to borrowers if there's no credit history about them. Blockchain is the source of trust in the system, and that trust can only be created when a digital asset is moved from a lender to a borrower. We built this, or we started to build it because we needed it. This is a representation of our lending company in India. Our lending business in India, which is called Happy Loans, has processed now several 100,000 loan applications. We've made, as I said in the beginning, $7 million in loans in the last year and a half. But this was a painstaking process. It was a painstaking process for us to go to all of these sources of information, convince them that we were credible, and luckily we have a lot of experience in the market. That wasn't as hard as it could have been. We convinced them we were credible, we sourced data, and we made loans on the back of that data with our own money and with money from other lenders. But this has taken a year and a half to start to put together. And our vision is not just to do this in India. Our entire careers have been working in many emerging markets. If something like this is going to happen, if Habib is going to get a loan in India, and that has to happen for billions of people around the world, it's not going to happen because I go and set up a company in India, then I set up a company in Kenya, or these companies start to proliferate. That is a very slow process that is not the most efficient it could be, which is why we created the network. Our business in India today has data on about 5 million borrowers. We've made 14,000 loans. You can see these are small loans to small businesses. So this is a great opportunity for us to actually create a launch product or an MVP. This is what's going to happen in a few months, is all of the technology and all the loans and the records we have currently are going to be ported onto LendLeger. So in a few months when we go live, we'll actually have daily record of loans being made. And today we do about 100 to 150 loans a day, and that's growing. We disperse anywhere from about $50,000 to $150,000 every day. So that's all going to move onto the system. And I just got back on this trip from Myanmar. I was invited to Myanmar by the largest agricultural group in the country, which also now has some banking and lending businesses and wants to look at lending to these small businesses. So there's appetite for what we're doing, not just in India, obviously, but in many, many emerging markets. Eventually, we think once this system exists, there's the potential to enable P2P lending cross-border. There's the potential to securitize, because all of a sudden loans backed by a token can be easily transferred or assigned from one party to another. So the potential when finally lending is put on the blockchain is enormous. Just want to end with the team, because this is, whenever you hear us talk about these projects, these are at least 10-year projects in my view. And I've been doing this for almost 16, 17 years now, actually. Starting with SKS Microfinance, which is the largest microfinance organization in India. It IPO'd in 2010. My partner, based in India, built Fino Paytech. He founded that, which has 70 million customers, the largest network for government payments to people. And we've also founded a company called YTS Solutions, which was sold to Airtel. So we've been in the fintech and emerging markets business for many years. We're very proud of our track record. And as you can see from the kind of experience that we've brought on the team, including our advisors, at the bottom left, my good friend Nick Hughes was the founder of M-Pesa. M-Pesa, you may have heard of, is the largest mobile money service in the world. And in Kenya, the majority of adults in Kenya use M-Pesa to move money and to pay for things. So we have a lot of experience building large national and even international services. And we've been doing this for a long time. And I think that's important to look at, because any of the projects we do, these are 10-year stories to actually get to the point where they have to be mature. Some of our partners, we are doing a utility token out of Singapore, because we're an Asia-focused venture. And I think that's it. If any of you would like to talk to us afterwards, I'm here. Greg is here, and we'd be happy to tell you more about our company and our project. Thank you.
Thank you.